Okay, moving on from open data so that Cynthia gets a chance to talk as well.
I'm very interested in that discussion.
We heard Nick saying that one of the most important things about his social media surgeries is that you have zero expectations. You go into the thing just doing it because it's fun, because you have this pot of social capital. And you don't ask yourself in advance what exactly it is that you want to get out of it. With Next Hamburg, you said that, and I think a similar point to what Patricia Nance said, was that people have to know that they're going to get some kind of have some kind of effect by participating in the program. How do we reconcile these two things, or is it a contradiction, or?
Well, I don't think it's a contradiction, but you need to look at what the promise will be. For example, the process itself, when they come, of course it's an open process. Of course we have a dramaturgy, which means that there is a certain way of how they're gonna produce a vision of something for a certain topic. Excuse me. But in order to motivate them, you have to give them a certain promise, such as you are going to be heard, and you can, for example, just a plain example, participate in formulating the new agenda of where we want to go in Hamburg, for example, as they do at the Innenstadt concept, more or less, but really with citizens that don't get scared away too easily by
so once the citizens have participated in the process, what is the result of that? So they come to the events and they say what they want to have, and
well, it also depends on the events in our case, because sometimes we work together with, for example, with the city. And then it's usually a promise that they give. For example...
That the city gives? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
But our promise as Next Hamburg, because we're an independent platform, is that people will be heard and they get help from us also maybe to get the connection to somewhere where they can actually start realizing their idea, for example, through a certain person, or by us helping them bring it into the discussion, their own topic, into the newspaper, for example.
Right, okay.
Than that.
Nick, do you see a difference there, or a contradiction?
I mean, they don't contradict each other. The thing about zero expectations is so much disappointment is created by having unrealistic expectations of things. So remove the disappointment, because that saps energy. Why sap energy? So hence zero expectations. But I think the thing about any engagement, especially online engagement, any engagement between a public organisation and the public, so often what government forgets to do is to be useful. So what works on the web and what works in the real world, if you want to engage people, is being useful to them and helping them and thinking first about how you can help them rather than how they can help you. And I hear it all the time, people coming to me and saying, can you use social media to get teenagers to come to our ward support meeting on a Tuesday evening? And I say, no. Why not? Because your ward support meeting is incredibly boring. And nobody wants to come to it. You don't even want to go to it. So don't ask me to do something that's ridiculous. So it is about government learning not to ask people to be useful for it, but to learn to be useful for them, which is really ironic, because government is there to serve and does lots of things on the ground that are useful. Right. But when it comes to engagement, seems to forget that we want to be helped.
Okay. Oh, the first round of applause of the day goes to Nick. Congratulations. Go on, Anthony. Let's see if you can get a round of applause.
I don't think I can. I was a bit concerned, not surprised, but concerned that you were saying that your funding was coming to an end, because it feels to me like after 3 years you're just getting to the point at which you're going to start seeing some results and start building a permanent network. Now, interesting that the guy from Hamburg City Council was so very positive about some of these efforts. Is there you know, do you see that as a failing of the government, or do you see it as a fact that there is just no business model that makes this stuff, you know, sustainable over the long term without government funding?
Well, actually, I mean, the government funding was supposed to end now. There's no way to make it longer. We can only look for another one, for example. Doesn't have anything to do with the project itself. But we are working on a model to keep it going, of course. So I think there is a way, but you can't really make money with it. It's more about the idea of what he said. It's, yes, how we unite people to be able to contribute to changes in their own city.
I think this is something where you really have to look, and where it is important that this sort of giving money from government to participation organization, that it's ending, is very important, because people won't trust in organizations for participation who are paid by government. So I think it is important that we have crowd-financed organizations who are working on it and who, of course, have a sort of third-party point of view in these processes.
Well, but there's a tiny difference, only that, I mean, we were paid by the government, but we are really independent. There's nothing we have to follow.
Just wait for it.
Not to mix that up.
I think, on the one hand, you're right, but actually I think you can have processes and independence in place. That, I mean, if you look at what's the most trusted institution in the UK, it's National Health Service, which is run by the government and funded by the government, and the BBC, which is run by the government and is a, you know, government political propaganda arm, or could be, and isn't, because, you know, it has an independent structure that goes around it. So I think you can build that trust in while still using state money. If it's, you know, it may not be in the commercial sense, but you can use state money in a trusted way.
Yeah, of course you can build the trust, but it really needs a long time and participation.
And open
data.
Okay. Can I just ask one question, and then we'll come to Alenka? One of the things with the summit that we wanted to bring out in the open was to show the very local aspects around things like the transparency law in Next Hamburg. Daniel, as far as I know, there isn't another place in Germany and possibly even in Europe where open data is being pushed for by the civil society rather than it being done as a trend because everybody thinks it's a good thing and it's what the USA and the US are doing. Is that an important part of it? Is that something that makes the Transparenzgesetz special? Is it something that makes it... Will it lead to a better process, a better open data portal than the ones in other places?
I couldn't say anything about the portal, because this is something that needs to be built up by the administration, of course. We just give out this law and say, okay, you have to build up this information register with all the information. We can't say, do the information register with some green on the left and maybe some red in the bottom, and this won't work. I think they need to have a concept, and of course we will try to help them and give up this. But I think it is very different, because this is a law not just written for the citizens, this is a law written by citizens. This law is just people sitting down and say, okay, which information do we like to have? And not government sitting there and say, okay, which information could we maybe give them without giving away any power? And I think this is a very new point of view, that people are going on their own way. And yeah, currently we are, in the way we are doing the law, maybe we are sort of pioneers, but I'm talking to people from Bremen, from Berlin, from Thüringen, from Baden-Württemberg. They are really interested in this law, and there are a lot of other people interested in this project. And I think it's really something which we start a sort of movement, which maybe will have a lot of other cities following this example.
Okay. So, Alenka, you had a question?
Alenka Poplin, Hafen City University, Hamburg. We were involved in the Next Hamburg project as a research partner, and we were observing for about 2 years so people meeting, coming to enjoying the new formats of discussions like the speed dating, and this was all very nice. But then after doing that for a year and a half or 2 years, I would say year and a half, then they started questioning what's going to happen with the results. Why are we are spending time here, and what's going to happen? We created all these great ideas, or everybody can create an idea and put it on a wall, but then what happens then? So I very much admire what's happening with the surgery, the public surgery. I see similarities here. This enthusiasm at the beginning, great, let's meet, and then you get basically very extroverted people that like to enjoy drinks or talk to other people. But question to you, Nick, were you thinking about what's the next step, or you just want to let them enjoy? But I think that at a certain point there will be a level of unsatisfaction with the whole thing, because what is the point of doing it? You know, it's nice, but what will happen? Will there be any results created? Can we use these results in a serious discussions about the changes, and how can we actually help to change things? Because just discussing doesn't help to change things. It helps to exchange the information about what needs to be changed. Were you thinking about the next step or this possible issue?
I was just doing the next thing that seemed to make sense, to be honest. Okay, now I look at it, I mean, there's social media surgery happening in all sorts of places, so community groups and active citizens are learning to use the web to talk about civic things. And that will broaden the range of people involved in the conversation. So, I mean, and some of the people you talk about are actually quite introverted. They actually use the web because they are introverts, because they'd rather do that than go to a public meeting. Or they're doing it because that's the time it's convenient for them. So I think that there is, you know, we're starting to build and think about tools that means that we can use the web for